The number one reason why people slow down in marathons, not what you think. Hey, thank you for clicking on my incredibly bullshit clickbaity title. We are going to, I don't know if it's the number one reason, but it is a very large reason why most people slow down. It doesn't have to do with carbs. Doesn't have to do with electrolytes. I need you to follow me on this one. That's going to be the first half of the video. The second half, I'm just going to do a one take banger. So if I remember my point in the second half, if there's a second half to this video, we're going to talk about a race strategy for the marathon. Chicago's coming up. A lot of marathons coming up. I put on my glasses because these aren't real. They're just for looks. So it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. So when someone asks me a question, I found if it's just off my nose and I push it up, and then I say an answer with confidence, people believe me, right? So like, how many pumps does this get? 3. And now it gets 3. Anyway, okay. So people slow down in marathons. People are afraid of the bonk. They're afraid. They're like, I'm going to run out of carbs. That's the big concern. Some people, depending if you're running in a hot marathon, you say electrolytes, I'm going to get dehydrated. These are things. These are both things. They happen. Some people slow down. But what I see when I excavate the data, when I look a little bit into it, and some of my runners, look, I'm a certified coach. StrideandShine.com, I do one-on-one coaching. If you're interested in coaching, you can check that out. I'll put it in the description below, all of that stuff. Okay, let's say a runner runs a 3:31:30 and their goal was a 3:30, and they slow down starting around mile 24, 25, 26. They slowed down. It's a gradual slowdown, very common in the marathon. They didn't hit their goal and they think, my legs were dead. I need more strength training. I know what I need. I need more carbs, because if I have more carbs, I can eat my way to a new fitness level. That's not really how it works though. Okay, now carbs are great, not anti-carb. Eat the carbs, fuel the race. Absolutely, 100%. Another discussion. The number one reason why people slow down, I don't know if it's the number one reason, but a lot of reasons in these examples that I've looked at, and I'll share some, is you have reached the ceiling of your fitness and you just didn't happen to be in shape that your ego thought you were in. So you say, oh, well, I'm gonna set this goal. And I think by this date, on this time, on this day, I'm gonna run, let's say 3:30. But you really ran a 3:31:30 and you slow down in the last 5K. Now, when I look back at the data, let's say there's a tune-up race, a half marathon, 6 weeks away, or a 10K, 8 weeks away. I can use myself as an example for this as well. I was in the orbit of sub 3. I was going to sub 3. I did a sub 3 journey. I'll put a link here for a playlist, Breaking 3. It's ridiculous. But one of the times I did not break 3. I ran a 3:02:24, the Houston Marathon in 2024. Max effort, full send. Proud of that. Weather was perfect, relatively flat course. Around mile 20, I started to land at 6:54 a mile instead of 6:52, 6:58 for the next mile. And I knew then I was maybe on track within 30 seconds of a sub 3, but I'm landing on the wrong side of 6:52, and I'm probably not going to hit it. But I fought and I fought and I fought, and I slid into the 7s. And then I fought back. My man Kafuzi cheered me on in the last mile. It was epic. It was a glorious day. I fought. I ran a 3:02:24. Missed it by 2 minutes and 24 seconds. It was a slight positive split as I crossed the halfway in 1:30:30. So why did I slow down? What I'm thinking is maybe it was the carbs. Maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Maybe I didn't run enough mileage. Maybe I wasn't in sub 3 shape. Well, let me look at it. I pull up a half marathon that I ran 6 weeks prior. Now, there are tables you can look at. So that's Macmillan, VDOT calculators, or RCA tables you can look at. There are calculators, algorithms, stuff that says you're in basically this shape. If you could run this for a mile, you probably could run around this for a 5K. You probably run this for 10K, half marathon, etc. Within 1 second was the time for my half marathon, and for my 10K time, my 10K time was, I believe, within 7 seconds. It was maybe a 39:38 or something, that I ran in cool weather 8 weeks prior to running. Now, you can level up in 8 weeks or 6 weeks. There's a possibility that I got fitter. But when I typed in the VDOT calculator and I saw what I ran, it was exactly accurate. It was congruent. It was whatever. It matched. I just wasn't in sub 3 shape. And so I just didn't have the fitness. Now my ego could say, hey, let's go for 3. And let's go by on January 14th of 2024. That's 4 months away or whatever it is. I think I can get in shape. I'm starting here. I'm going to get here. But it just didn't happen. Now, you can go out too fast. If I would have gone out at 6:28 pace, roughly what I could run for a half marathon, possibly 6:37 pace, something like that, somewhere in there. If I would have gone out at a sub 2:55 pace, then my fitness would have hit its ceiling a lot sooner and the slowdown would have been much greater. So you can lose a lot of time. When I say when people slow down at the end of races, I'm not talking about the bonk. I'm not talking about the walk jog. I'm talking about the slow fade. And a lot of times when we miss it, we attribute it. I see runners, they're like, I've got on that Megan Featherston website and I'm going to eat even more carbs. I'm going to take 100,000 carbs whilst running. I'm going to take Element, I'm going to packets and down. I'm going to be so hydrated. I'm going to pee as I run. Just like everything's going to be perfect. But it's like, well, hold on, let's take a look at this. So you go back to your old races and say like, you know what? I had the slow fade. Let me see what I was kind of running before that. Because if you ask somebody, hey, can you hold that pace for 4 laps? I think I can, right? Like, because I can imagine 4 laps around a track. 5K, okay, so I'm looking at 20 minutes for a lot of people, sometimes 30, sometimes 15, but can I hold this? Can I run really hard for 3 miles? Yeah, I think I know that. Like, I've gotten confident after 5 years of running to say, like, I could hold that for 6 miles. I can hold this for 6. I'm pretty sure I can finish this 10K out at this pace. But anything past that, I'm not so sure. So if somebody says, can you hold this pace for 22 miles? I think so. But what about 26? I think so. I mean, they're roughly the same, only 4 miles apart. Like my brain can't imagine that distance away, whether or not I can hold it. So it's understandably confusing until you get there on race day and then you actually just go for it. Now I've got a strategy for you. Okay, this is gonna be part 2. Stop. Okay, part 2. All right, now we're gonna actually do a 2-take banger. Now this second half, we're gonna talk about what that pacing strategy is for the marathon. Don't get me wrong, I did try to do this in 1 take, but it ended up being a word salad. We're not tossing anything. We're avoiding all the obvious jokes here on Midlife Runner. Okay, so let me just tell you the strategy. Take it or leave it. I'm trying to offer more help here on this channel. It's not advice. You should do this. You should do that. I don't like when people say that you should do this. You should do that. This is stuff that I've seen. I've done it. I've prescribed it for my runners. They've got something out of it. It's really helpful for them. So I'm offering it to the world. Take it or leave it. I don't care. Like one of those little library books where you just take a book and you put it back. In fact, in the comments, if you have a really good race day strategy that you prefer, put it in the comments so people can scroll through and be like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to try that. So easing into the race, starting with the negative split in mind. First 3 miles of a marathon, give it 8 seconds. 8 seconds a mile. Next 3, 4, 5, and 6, 3 seconds a mile. This totals 30 seconds for the first 6 miles. You've given the marathon 30 seconds. Take it, marathon, okay? From mile 7 to 13, now you start landing 5 seconds in front, 5 seconds in front. This should feel like home to you. Like in training, when you get prescribed marathon pace, like we're not robots. This is like, okay, I know if my goal is sub 3 and I'm supposed to be going 6:52, I'm probably going to be 6:47 to 6:50. I'm going to be landing 5 seconds in front. Most runners, in my experience, in my opinion, tend to land a little bit in front of their goal marathon pace. They just want to be in front of it. They don't want to be behind it, which is why people don't tend to like this strategy. Like, what do you mean? I'm going to give the marathon 30 seconds? Yeah, yes, but you're going to be out there for a few hours. So it's okay. 30 seconds we got. 5 seconds in front times 7. Okay, now we have got the time back. You cross halfway, you've erased the time that you gave away to start, but you still may be behind. The clock time may still not say, if you're going sub 3, it may say 1:30:30 or 1:30:45 or 1:30:15, whatever, depending on how you ran the tangents. But that's okay, because you're feeling good at this point, and you're going to continue to land in front of it and knock it down because you are pretty much a machine and you're a badass. And I believe in you. Okay, now back half, there's a lot of options. But why this is a good strategy and when is it a good strategy? Well, when it's hot. or when there are things that make you feel like you may be running slower, you're getting over a cold, there's some unknowns, you've got some Newton Hills, mile 16, you don't know how those are gonna feel. Why don't we just ease into this thing and not go full send and not try to run even splits? Because also, what if we are not in the shape that we think we're in? Now, I'm gonna use an example. It's a golf analogy. Don't click off the channel. In fact, subscribe, even if you don't like golf. I've been golfing. I picked it up in my adult life just to play with my dad, get some quality time with him. And I realized something when I played with these guys is they were a little delusional, and if we'd get about 150 yards from the pin, the guy would get out, Randy would say like, hey, give me my 7. I'm 150, give me my 7-iron, okay? And he thinks he hits a 7-iron, 150, and I watched the guy for like 3 rounds. I played with the guy. Maybe one time his 7 went 150. But I had to think, like, when he's hit it before 150, and he thinks that club gets him 150, and he's not accounting for the elevation, he's not accounting for the wind, he's also accounting for a perfect shot. And so often I think when we see VDOT calculators and tables as runners, we say like, oh, I could run this, and I ran an equivalent here. So on a flat course, on a cold day, in perfect temperatures, and everything's alignment, I can run this. And you might. But there is also a chance that it's actually going to be 65 degrees for the back half of the race, or that the Newton Hills are going to have something to say about it, or maybe your mileage and all of the effort that you put in, you're kind of more in 2 minutes off your goal, but you don't know that, right? Because it's a hard thing to know. It's hard to know like, hey, I can hold this pace for 20 miles. I can hold this pace for 22 miles. I can hold this pace for 24 miles. I don't know. I know what I can hold for a mile. A 10-mile effort between a half marathon effort, I don't have that nuance. It's not in my toolkit. Same thing way down the road, 22 milers versus a 24 milers. I don't know if the pace that I'm running now is going to make it at mile 23, but we're going to find out, and that's why we race. Cheers. So who is this? Because I've already lost my thought. Who is this good for? The people who have question marks, right? So then I ease in, and what if I ease into the marathon and I end up that little bit of grace that I've given myself is exactly what I need for the warmer temps, exactly what I need for the hills, exactly what I need because I'm not in the shape that I really thought that I was in. So it's a full effort at the end, and I ended up proud of it. I crossed the finish line with nothing left in the tank, and I was a couple months slower than what my original goal was, that my ego created, that said, hey, one day and this day we're gonna run this. But the reality is we're just not there yet, and that's okay. Because races are a snapshot of our fitness in time. It's not the end of the story. It's like having the mindset of training through this race onto the next one. So some people are not, they don't like this idea because they really want to finish in front of it. And so on a non-A race, I suggest doing something you haven't done. I like this strategy, but for my half marathon, a strategy that I'm running this weekend. So for this half marathon, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something different. I'm going to go out and try to even split straight through. I'm going to hold on to 6 minutes, and I just want to run 6-minute miles ad infinitum until I die, basically. But it's going to be 70 degrees. So I could do that, but I also know science is a thing. It's a real thing. I run in the heat most of the year. I will not make it 13 miles at 6 minutes a mile. So I have to do more of an effort-based strategy and something like this and run against my competition because it won't be a PR. A PR that I ran, net downhill 300 feet. It was 27 degrees, feels like 11. This is a topic for another video, which I'll go back in time later and I'll put right here because our man Truett Haynes, the guy in the jeans, the shirtless guy on Instagram, just ran St. George downhill. 2,500 feet net downhill. He made a video of it. He addressed some haters. I don't know. I don't follow all the drama. I don't know. I just create content. I don't have a story about it either way, whatever. But like science, speaking wise, I mean, take it or leave it. You get, I think, 15 seconds per 50 feet of elevation, according to Jack Daniels, who, that's pretty much gospel. Science. You go uphill, you're going to run slower. You go downhill, you're going to run faster. So you can count that as a PR, not PR. I'm not invested in any of the stories, but I have to set expectations for my runners. So, because I had a runner who ran St. George as well. And so it also has other things. If you're running at altitude, which is also a thing. And if you're not from altitude, that will impact you. You're also going downhill 2,500 feet. It's damaging to the quads. Have you been doing strength work? How are you physically going to feel at mile 20? So there's a lot to it. But anyway, I say all that to say that, like, yes, you have to factor in the heat, the 70 degrees that I'm getting this week, and the 60 degrees it'll be in Chicago. It'll start in the 50s. The second half may be 65 or something, right? But that's not usually what we're thinking about when we look at our VDOT on our phone, or we see some other thing and we see it and we think, yes, I can run this. It's like, yeah, but these elements may slow you down a little bit. So if you want to get a little conservative in your race approach, this is one way that you can do it. There's plenty of ways to run a marathon. And people, I want to double down and say plenty of people slow down because they don't get enough carbs. You should eat all the carbs. You should get on Megan Featherston's website. You should get her calculator and eat all of the carbs, okay? Drink the electrolytes, please. I'm not saying that those things don't matter. I'm not saying this is the only way to pace a marathon. I'm not saying that. It's just the internet. So they grab the clips, then they come at me. They're like, "You're wrong, bro. You are so wrong. You could pace a marathon any which way you so choose. This is just one example, and this is my conclusion to why people slow down in the marathon. I'm going to try to create more videos like this. Again, if you are looking for coaching, strideandshine.com for one-on-one. Follow me on there. I got to go pick up my kids. What a life."